All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Good Talkers podcast. We're doing a really special episode today, kind of a little bonus for you guys. We wanted to explain kind of how the podcast started and how we all got together and our process with that. And, if you're interested, here's kind of our podcast story. So, as always, today I'm joined by the amazing Tessa Livingston.
Hello.
And the wonderful Deanna Cooney.
Hi.
And from NZ Audio Editors, we have our producer, Jordan.
Yo.
So, I've had an interesting week, guys.
Oh, you have, haven't you? Tell us about your fridge, Ashton.
Yes, please tell us about the tales of your fridge.
So, I know that you guys are in the Southern Hemisphere. I'm in the Northern Hemisphere. And you guys are embarking upon the cooler months. I am in the middle of the hottest summer ever. Ugh. And of course, that's when my refrigerator decides to break down. So I've been dealing with that all week. Like, I literally was rushing to put I live in a tiny little condo in Los Angeles. Everything in Los Angeles is tiny, but I don't have room for big coolers for my whole fridge. So I'm pulling out all my tiny coolers that I take to the beach to try to fit all my food in there so I can try to save it. Oh, it was awful. But my boyfriend, my partner Ian, was really wonderful. He got somebody out here next day. Turns out he could fix it, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But it's just when you're in the middle of summer and your refrigerator breaks, it's...
Did you go knock on anyone's door and say, hey, can I borrow your fridge just for 24 hours?
Right. Or do you have an extra cooler you're not currently using?
Somebody bring ice.
You could have hung out at my house. Honestly, we currently have 2 fridge freezers operating. One of them is dedicated to beer, and the other one...
That's just called a beer fridge. What do you mean? That's normal. It's a beer fridge. Everyone
it's our big one as well. It's not even our little one. Our big one is dedicated to the beer fridge. And then we have a standing freezer. There's 2 of us that live in this house. So, Ashton, next time that happens, just come on over. You can go to New Zealand and put all your shit in my fridge.
Yeah. I'll just hop on over with all of my food and my carry-ons, and I'll just bring it on over.
Super normal.
So has anybody else had a disastrous week, or just me? I
haven't had anything break. So that's positive, I think. I think I'm going to call that a positive week. Nothing broke.
All right. Well, I'm happy for all of you. But
oh, I'm sorry that happened, Ashton. That sucks.
It's okay. It's life. You get through it. I'm glad we're laughing about it now, because if my fridge was still broken, I would not be laughing about it. That's for sure.
Oh, my God, no.
Okay, well, today we are going to talk about how this podcast started, about us, about the Good Talkers, and how we got together. I'm going to throw it over to you, Tessa, because I feel like you kind of kicked this whole thing off. So what gave you the idea to want to start this podcast in the first place?
Well, that is a great question. I'm so pleased we get to share this, because I always love knowing how things start, where everything came from. So it started for me back when I'd first started my own business called Voice Cares, when I was practicing as a speech therapist. And I was like, oh, I know what I could do. I could call it the Voice Cares Voice Review. And I was going to read texts and articles and do a review on what I thought they were going to be about and how it would all work. And then I decided that was real lonely, and I didn't want to do it by myself, so I didn't even start. I didn't even bother. And it was actually all during the breakout of the pandemic, when everything was getting really, really difficult. I was like, I don't really know what to do with myself. Hours at the clinic had stopped because people didn't want, teletherapy anymore. People were just sick of all of that stuff. So I actually remember I was scrolling through Instagram, and Ashton, your profile came up, and I saw it was just I honestly can't even remember what it was that you posted, but I was like, oh, she does voiceover. And if you remember from the last one, this is when I was starting to get a little bit interested and reminding myself that voiceover was something quite cool. And I clicked on her Instagram profile and had a little scroll through, and I was like, oh, she's got a website. I'm going to click on her website, and her website popped up, and she's using Squarespace, and it is exactly the same format colours and theme as the website I currently have. So,
Get out.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah. So I on Instagram was feeling, I was pretty down at this point. Like I was no longer working at the clinic and didn't know what to do with myself. So I was like, I'm gonna message her. So I messaged her and I was like, hey, I see you do voiceover. I'm a speech therapist. Do you want to make a course?
Yeah,
Just
she
out
like
of the
slid
blue,
into
like
my
that.
DMs. I was just like, who is this girl? Like, what is going on? So then I clicked on her website. And then, I found out that she, has this website and she was awesome. And I'm kind of the person that's like, I'm a yes person. Like, I really love to say yes to things. I really don't like to say no. So I was like, sure, yeah. What do you want to do? Wait, what is this? Sure, let's do it. So, yeah, it was great.
Yeah, so we hadn't started talking about podcasting at that point. It was just like, we made a voiceover for beginners course, which we've run 3 times, nearly 4 times, which has gone really good. It's been really enjoyable. And so that was sort of that side of things happening. And then the other thing that I was running through my business was I'd created a 2-hour course for teachers on teaching them about vocal health and vocal projection so that they can, protect their voices throughout the terms and not get so sore. And again, this was during the pandemic, and unless you were a teacher, you could not go in and out of schools. It was just, and if you wanted to try and contact a school, good luck, because they were being inundated with everything from the government, from parents, from it was absolutely mental. So I was feeling a bit down and out about that. So I've spent hours and hours making this thing. And then on my Facebook pops up Deanna with her Boss of Your Breath. Was that what it was called? Deanna,
Boss of Your Breath.
Boss of
it's a
Your
workshop
Breath.
that I have. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wasn't working anywhere and I saw that and I was like, that looks cool. So, popped on. And at the beginning, I think you had once you signed up, there was what are your questions about breath? And I popped in the question. I was like, I'm a SLP. I'm speech language pathologist for anybody who didn't know that acronym. And I was like, I'm interested in longevity of breath I can't even remember what I put in.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh,
that's
cool.
exciting. Can we talk some more, please?
And I turned up on your thing for that night, and I think it was really late in New Zealand as well because you were in Perth, so it might have been at 7 p.m. for you. It was almost midnight for me when it started over here.
Yeah.
So I was on that, and it was really great. And
Drinking the cups of tea to stay awake.
Just smashing back those cuppers, having a great time. And throughout it, because I remember this so clearly because it was all just so awakening for me, somebody on the course asked about a device that they were using and he couldn't figure out what it was. And you were like, oh, there's a speech therapist on the course. Let's ask her.
Yeah, it was great. I'm outsource, man, if you don't know the answer.
Outsource. So that was great. And I, sort of jumped in. I was talking about, because it was a tool for using SOVTs, so semi-occluded vocal tract exercises like straws or lip trills, those sorts of things. It's just a, different form of that. And afterwards, I don't know who mentioned it first, but I think Deanna might have been like, stay on afterwards.
Yeah, I sent Tessa a message going, don't hang up, stay on the Zoom call.
Aww.
Stopped recording, finished the workshop, said goodbye to everyone. It was a beautiful workshop. It was so much fun.
It was
said
great.
goodbye to everybody. And then Tess and I literally sat on the Zoom call for at least another half an hour, just oh my God. Wow. Just totally geeking out hardcore about breath and voice. And it was the best.
It was so much fun. And I think I remember saying to you at one point, I'm really keen to do a podcast, but I don't know what on. And you were like, I've been thinking about it for years too. Is that what you said? I think it was.
Yeah, something like that, because I have been thinking about podcasts for the longest time. But like you, I don't like doing them on my own. It's lonely, right? I love being in an environment where I get to bounce off other people and share ideas. And I find, even as a teacher, for me, the best teaching that I do is when I've got other people in the space with me and they can ask me questions. And so they get so much more out of me when they ask me questions. And I love being in a space with other brains. You know?
Yeah.
It's so good.
I totally agree. Being in voiceover can sometimes be really lonely. You are alone a lot of the time. And I'm also a firm believer that the right people will always find you. So, like, it may have seemed very serendipitous, but I really truly feel like it was almost fate that, Tessa slid into my DMs like she did, and she took your class, and we're all here now. And I really appreciate both of you, and Jordan, of course, as well. And I'm just so stoked we're doing this, and I hope everybody listening is stoked too.
Yeah. Look, we're having fun anyway, regardless, right? Like, hopefully everyone listening is having a good time as well. But like, we're just having such a good time hanging out, sharing ideas and experiences and stuff. And I think there's really something to be said for getting a very diverse perspective on something that you do or that you like to do. Like, I've been in this for a really fucking long time, and I'm learning so much from all three of you, like every time we do something like this, or even just get together and have a chat about what's going to be on the next episode, or have a little bit of a messenger convo or something like that, I come away with more knowledge, more understanding, a broader, more diverse viewpoint on this beautiful industry and profession. And I just think that's insanely valuable.
So valuable. And what I loved about it was that once, Deanna and I had been talking about doing this podcast for a little while, we'd sort of been back and forwards email.
Yeah.
I remember emailing you a few times being like, hey, let's do a thing. And then I was talking to Ashton, and then all of a sudden my brain just went, we all three of us, how cool would that be with the international thing? And what I loved about the way that all three of us approached it, it was, sometimes in professions like this, there can be like a sense of competition or a sense of, not really wanting to share yourself with other people, because what if they take something that you're good at, or whatever it is. And I just remember so vividly all three of us being like, yes, so good, and like just jumping in. And so that's what I loved about that whole process, and not giving into the whole thought that this is lonely, because it is lonely, but we all just jumped in.
Yeah, and look, that competition thing's really interesting, right? I think that exists in every, I don't know about non-creative industries, but it definitely exists in every creative industry. People get very, very like guarded about how they get work, like how they produce the work that they do, what skill set they bring, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's a mistake. It's a massive mistake, because what that says is actually we're all the same and none of us have anything unique to offer. So we have to be really careful about what we do, because someone could take it and use it and we would lose, right? And it's not the case, right? Actually, we all bring really unique individual things to the space, and sharing information with each other just allows us to use our own superpowers even more effectively, right? And like, there's nothing bad about community. There's absolutely nothing bad about having a village, right? Like, that's where you get to like really grow and be stronger in what you do, when you've got the support of the people around you. I just think jealously guarding information is the quickest way to fail at something that you're doing. And not fail forward, fail backwards.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I absolutely love about Tessa and her meeting her and just starting to work with her is that she really like has given me personally the confidence to like say, you have ideas. You're good at this. You can teach other people. You can share with other people. Because when she originally contacted me, I was like, oh, I don't know if I could like teach other people. Like, I don't know if I could share. Not that I was trying to like gatekeep my, my information, but more of like I didn't have the confidence in myself to really put it out there that, yeah, like I am newish in this industry. I've only been really working at it for 3.5 years, which is really fairly new. But I do have experience, and I did, learn all of this on my own, and being able to share that with other people is actually so rewarding. And I wouldn't know that if Tessa had never contacted me. So, I appreciate you, Tess.
Yeah, Tess, it's amazing. It's so good that you've built this little space. And you literally have built it, by the way. Like, yeah. I just show up and talk, right?
Really, truly. She is like the brainchild. She is like the literal worker bee of like the podcast. She is just puts so much into it. And I really think as much as I appreciate her, I feel like the people listening are going to appreciate her hard work too. I really do.
Stop it.
Make her cry.
She's
Make her
like
cry.
bright red, by the way. Like her face is just gone completely red. It's adorable.
It's so sweet. It's so sweet because I really appreciate that, and I know that we've touched on it in the other one, but I used to think that I had no resilience and that I wasn't able to do things, and it's because I've found something that I love so much that I'm not holding back, and it's so nice to get that feedback. So thank you. I appreciate both of you greatly as well, and you, Jordan, you're fantastic.
Yeah, well, and Jordan, we want to talk about you in just a second, but like what I wanted to say very quickly about that whole new to the space, don't have anything to offer. It's a load of fucking bollocks, right? Because you're not a baby. You are not a newborn, right? You've lived your life up till now. Yes, you're fairly new to this particular profession and doing this particular thing professionally, but all of the stuff that you did up till this point, and that's what we covered in the Who Are We and How Did We Get Here episode, right?
Right.
All of that stuff counts and contributes, and you both have, all three of you have enormous things to share just based on how you got here in the first place. And what you did to start is super valuable. You know, sometimes because I've been in it for a really long time, I lose sight of what it's like in the beginning. When you've been doing something for 25 years, it's hard to remember what the start was like, you know? And so it's really important that people that are brand new get to hear what is it like to be not completely brand new, but still fairly new. You know, like it's important that you're sharing that experience with people because it's very intimidating as someone brand new to walk into a space and only have 25-year veterans to learn from. That's fucking intimidating, right? But having someone who's just a bit ahead of you, right? That's awesome for people. Like literally invaluable, like really.
And that's something that Tessa had mentioned to me before. She's like, no, I'm like, oh, I've only been doing this for like a little while. I don't know if I'm like the one that people are going to want to go to for like to learn from. And she was like, no. You only have to be this much far ahead of other people because then you can share this much information to them and that's going to get them further. Yes. And she was right, man. She was right.
Yeah.
Look at me saying things and being helpful. That's so good. Before we move on to anything else, because I don't know where this episode is going, but it's great. But I should also touch on how Jordan and I got connected.
Yes.
Because when I was working at my clinic, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying because he talks about his cancer story publicly and shares a lot. So when he had cancer, it affected his vocal cords, and I was helping him rebuild those, and to the extent that they could be. And it was so funny. He would come into the clinic and we were only supposed to have 45-minute sessions. We would spend 45 minutes just chatting. He's literally like my spirit animal. He's like a 65, 70-year-old man. And we would just sit and chat and we'd get to the end of the session and be like, oh my God, we have to do like 2 minutes of speech therapy and I'll just send you a recording and you do it. Because we'd talk, and then him and I kept in contact. He interviewed me on one of his little video episodes that he does, and he's like, oh well, actually, you should get in contact with this guy because he does podcasting and things like that. You should go talk to him. And then I emailed, and then it's we've been chatting since then. Hey, Jordan.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. A good man, old Max. He's
a good man.
He's a very good person. I enjoy spending time with him, and yeah, that's basically how it went down. I kind of reached out to him and asked him after doing some work with him if he knew anyone else who could use my help, and he kind of put you forward, and I'm glad he did. It's so cool to be a part of this, and you guys are. You're super creative, all three of you, and you're just getting it. So I definitely enjoy the being on here. I'm not always on the episodes when I'm doing production and editing things, but I definitely enjoy spending my time being a part of it. It's pretty cool. So yeah, so that's basically sums it up. Just somebody mutual that we both know who we both appreciate, and he obviously appreciates both of us, otherwise he wouldn't have put us in contact with each other. So exactly. Pretty much how it went.
It was great. I remember talking to you on the phone, like, because we're like, oh, look, we'll just do a phone call, we'll just figure this out, and then it all worked from there, and it was so nice and easy. Thanks, Max.
Nice job, Max.
We should give him a shout.
Give him a shout. Yeah, he's awesome. So
I love that you say like everything feels so easy, because that's how I feel like this entire process has just been easy and fun and a joy to work on with everybody. And I've been a part of other things, and it hasn't been so easy or joyful. So it's really great to be here. Any last minute thoughts?
No.
All right.
I think that's it.
Yeah, then that's our story, guys. That's how we started our podcast and kind of all got together and met each other. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. And as always, you can find us on all kinds of social media, on Instagram and on TikTok and other places. You just have to Google us, The Good Talkers. You can also email us your stories from the booth. We would love to hear you and hear your stories. You can either write us an email, or you can send us a voice note, which we really appreciate, because we would love to hear your voices, just like you guys hear our voices.
Yeah.
And you can email us at thegoodtalkerspodcast@gmail.com. That's correct, right, Tessa? I got that right? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And that's us signing off for now. Ta-ta.
Bye.
See you guys. Love your work.